Okay, let's dive right into this. Have you ever stopped to think about just how fragile yet incredibly interconnected our modern world actually is? I mean, really think about it. Today, we are exploring a wild, completely hypothetical scenario in this explainer that tests the absolute limits of human resilience, our global infrastructure, and our basic capacity to cooperate. We're calling this thought experiment the Midnight Shift.
So I want you to imagine something with me for a second. Imagine that at exactly midnight tonight, every single person on Earth is instantaneously transported to a completely different continent. Nobody is hurt, right? Nobody simply disappears. But suddenly, a family sleeping in Tokyo wakes up in the middle of the Brazilian rainforest, still in their pajamas. A farmer in Argentina finds himself just standing there in a bustling field somewhere in Europe. So, what happens next? How does humanity survive literally the largest crisis in our entire history?
Section 1. The Midnight Shift.
To really grasp the sheer scale of this event, we have to look at this terrifying juxtaposition: infrastructure versus humanity. The physical world we've built, it's 100% intact. The buildings are standing, the factories are fully operational, the roads, the fiber optic cables, the massive server farms, they are exactly where they were yesterday. But the human operators, that vital breathing capital actually needed to run these colossal systems, they've completely vanished from their posts. It's a perfectly functioning world, but the people holding the keys are just gone.
Section 2. Global Systems Collapse.
As you'd expect, the fallout is devastatingly rapid. I mean, look at this timeline. At minute 1, it is pure global disorientation. Phones start ringing everywhere. People are rushing outside into completely unfamiliar cities and landscapes. By hour 1, emergency services are utterly overwhelmed. And it's not because the service has disappeared, right? It's because the responders themselves have been relocated, and these massive sudden language barriers paralyze local operations. You can't call for help if you can't speak the language. By hour 12, global transportation just grinds to a halt. Every airport is packed, sure, but pilots are stranded on different continents, and air traffic controllers are scattered across the globe. Rail networks stop because the trained operators are missing. By hour 24, the entire global supply chain completely freezes.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer domino effect of a missing workforce. It triggers these cascading logistical failures. Stock markets are forced to close immediately. Banks freeze all transactions. Out on the oceans, you have these massive cargo ships suddenly uncrewed, just drifting out at sea. Supermarkets, now completely cut off from those frozen supply chains, begin emptying within days. But perhaps the most urgent threat is our energy. As engineering models show us, if humans just poofed out of existence from their posts without safely shutting things down, total grid collapse would occur within days, or even hours, as automated plants shut down and overload the remaining sources. It's a literal race against the clock.
Section 3. Technology as survival.
But here is where it gets interesting. Unlike historical disasters, the internet provides a nearly instantaneous lifeline. So the crucial point is that smartphones become our absolute most vital survival tools. Immediately, people are going to use GPS just to pinpoint their new geographic locations. But the biggest lifesaver? AI translators. This is a massive game changer. Suddenly, you have a hospital full of doctors and patients who don't speak a word of the same language. AI-assisted interpretation becomes the ultimate bridge for survival. And then, of course, social media and video calls become the only possible way to verify family safety and try to organize reunions. To bring some kind of order to this chaos, governments would have to rapidly pivot to advanced logistical data models. You can see on this slide, it's like this workflow developed by the UN Refugee Agency for complex humanitarian crises. Authorities would have to aggressively acquire data on these massive, sudden population movements. They'd use predictive analytics to assess current situations, explore future scenarios, and plan immediate actions for shelter capacity and food distribution under immense, unprecedented uncertainty. In this scenario, data literally becomes the beacon in the dark.
Section 4. Sharing global knowledge.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the midnight shift forces an unprecedented global exchange of skills overnight. Just look at this breakdown. You have a software engineer from India now waking up in Canada, whose immediate value is helping restore critical digital systems. You have a traditional farmer from Argentina waking up in Europe, teaching entirely new, perhaps way more resilient, crop growth methods to the local community. A medical doctor from Nigeria finds himself in Australia, treating patients side by side with strangers using AI interpretation. Entirely alien knowledge sets are injected directly into new environments in the blink of an eye.
And that leads to this really profound shift. With global supply chains totally frozen, people are forced to start exchanging knowledge instead of goods. Physical trade completely stops, but the trade of ideas, techniques, and diverse human experiences, it absolutely explodes. Communities don't just survive, they adapt, and they actually become stronger by combining these wildly different skill sets. It's humanity crowdsourcing survival.
Section 5. Humanity 1 year later.
So let's fast forward 1 year. The long-term aftermath is just staggering to think about. The crisis that nearly destroyed civilization has fundamentally changed it. We'd see unprecedented cultural integration. I mean, without the slow pace of historical migration, diverse cooking traditions, building techniques, and educational systems spread instantly. Cities become truly multilingual overnight. Businesses, out of sheer necessity, globalize their hiring practices locally because the talent pool in their own backyard is now entirely international. The borderlines on the maps? They remain exactly where they were, but the populations within them have permanently mixed. We officially transform into a truly global species.
Which brings us to this point. Ultimately, our greatest resource isn't technology or money. It's the ability to cooperate when everything changes. When the physical world stayed completely still and humanity was thrown to total chaos, it was resilience, empathy, and the willingness to collaborate across all those language and cultural barriers that actually saved us.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought to ponder. If everyone on Earth truly swapped continents overnight, if the ultimate test of human nature was forced upon us at midnight, would humanity unite to rebuild, or would the world become more divided than ever? It's something to think about. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep questioning.